Ghost Code Magazine welcomes in Jesse Leach. How are you doing, brother?
Yeah, I'm doing all right, my man. How about yourself?
I am pretty damn swell for a Friday in late June. And yeah, man, we're here to talk about the new Times of Grace album. But first and foremost, before we unpack all that stuff, I'm trying to just check in with everybody and make sure everybody's cool because it's been a very tough time, not just professionally, but the whole world over.
Yeah.
And I don't want to lose that human touch, that human connection with anybody. So hopefully you're good, your fam, your girl, the bands, all your peoples are okay.
Yeah, last I checked, everybody's doing all right, man. I think we're all just looking forward to pushing forward and getting back to some semblance of normal. So yeah, I have no health issues to report. I think we got through this whole thing pretty unscathed. And it's just nice that looks like work's going to return soon. And yeah, man, I honestly cannot complain. I can't. I'm blessed. It was a rough 16 months for everybody, but things are looking better these days.
No doubt. And I appreciate that. And you're a person, you have always put it out on Front Street, like, I'm not doing okay.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take a break now. And, without going down too bad a rabbit hole, I think just for artists in the industry, social media is good to help promote your stuff, but it's also, and I work in digital marketing, but it's a quicksand trap, man. It's really not good and healthy for a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm careful with how I navigate it. I might put stuff out there, but I don't tend to read a lot of the comments. Even though, from what I've seen, I get a lot of positive feedback. I'm pretty good with that, but I just feel like it's a waste of time. Like people spend so much time on social media when you can go outside and do something. Like I don't know, I'm old school like that. Like I catch myself and I'm like, put the phone down and let's go like be a human somewhere and like talk to people and like go outside, especially now that here in New York things are pretty much returning to, we can be around each other. So like I've been taking advantage of that, going to like a restaurant and just hanging out at the bar, and like it's great. Or going swimming and going to the parks. Yeah, all that kind of shit. Social media can be great. You can use it for positive stuff, but you're right. There's backlash. It can spiral you into a dark place if you allow it. So I
Right
do
on.
my best to keep my distance when it comes to that shit.
Indeed, and we are pleased to live through your vacation and nature porn pictures, basically
Ah,
that you post. That's really uplifting. And I think if you're a positive person like you try to be, and you put positivity out, you do get it back, and that's probably why your fans live up to that bar you're trying to set.
yeah, I have some amazing people that support me on a fairly regular basis, through the podcast, through my bands, through Cameo. Yeah, I've got some really amazing people behind me.
Word. And so Times of Grace, man, really welcome to come back. There was a lot of excitement about even just like, hey, this is coming back. You guys started teasing it 6 months ago, maybe even longer. And with the 10-year anniversary of the first record, which I'm a huge fan of, saw the band play several times on tour. And so, yeah, man, this new record is coming out in July, and it's heavy, but it's heavy emotionally much more than like the first record was heavy with riffs. And so I wanted you to just start talking about that for, first, they're both very, raw albums, feelings wise, but like this one, I think even more so.
Yeah, it kind of just happened that way, but there was definitely some talk of intentionally ensuring that it sounded different than the first record, and continuing to push ourselves away from anything Killswitch related. I feel like I'm spinning my wheels sometimes, sort of being pigeonholed into a specific genre or a specific style. So for us, Times of Grace is a nice way to spread our wings and incorporate other genres and write differently, different writing patterns, and you know, having the ability to like just do a spoken word part in the middle of a song, and two paragraphs of lyrics and just going off on it. It's to me, it's fun. I enjoy it, but it's also therapeutic. It's as we're writing these the past record in 2011 and this one, for better for worse, they come from like a really dark place. We kind of have to go through tragedy and like be in a really fucking crazy place to write this shit. So this album's no different than that. So sonically, there's definitely a push to diversify, and that comes from Adam because he's the guy behind all the music. I just simply sing parts and write lyrics with him. So it's very much a collaboration with vocals. But yeah, he's the main driving force, and I love what he did. I love the sounds. I love they add piano and like organ and quieter stuff, slower paced, mid paced, kind of more epic, longer songs. I'm into it. I think it's great. And it was a pleasure to work on, man, just artistically.
I love hearing that. Adam really stretched out in a wonderful way, and I think he likes also messing with people's expectations of him generally. I think he was very, I'm sure, not in a conscious, strategic, planned way, but I'm sure that there's a part of him that like everyone thinks he's a goof from seeing him on stage or whatever his interviews, and then he's able to do this very heady, serious, important record.
Yeah, Adam D is constantly got a middle finger up to the world. He's very punk rock in some of his mindsets. And if you tell him to do something or you tell him you can't do something, he's gonna go do it. He loves that. He doesn't want people to tell him what to do. And like the goofiness is crazy. It's the stage thing, but he's a pretty serious dude when you get him one on one as a friend. Like, he can go deep as well. Him and our relationship is such where when we're off the road, we can get deep and we connect on a lot of issues and a lot of topics. And when we get on the road and he gets in that maniac mode, I go the other way. So on the road, we're very separate for the most part, unless we get together for dinner or like whatever. And when he's in show mode, I'm like, geez, it's a lot. But he's an entertainer, and that's just who he is. It's part of his persona. I wouldn't even say his persona. It's part of who he is. It only seems to come out though around shows or if he's drinking a lot, and the loud crazy guy will come out. But underneath all that is big middle fingers to anybody. People telling me metal shouldn't sound that way. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't wear this. He's like, "Fuck you. I'm gonna do it." And I kind of love that about him.
Definitely the cape and the booty shorts. I feel like if Blothar ever stepped down from Gore, Adam D would be a good frontman for Gore. Um, he could do it.
Probably would. Yeah, you're right.
He really could do it, and then he can help produce them too. And even though the album's, like I said, it's very heady and serious, and obviously, there's very ominous title, but I do feel like it was pretty uplifting. And you're right. I think you do have to go through, share these communal, like, we had this communal global experience, and then you can share music communally also through the power of whatever technology or just in a room eventually when we get back to shows. And I do feel uplifted by having heard this record. I do feel better in general by hearing the songs, even if you were coming from, a tough time in a tough place.
Yeah, I think there's a certain amount of if people can relate to what you're saying, you don't feel so alone with your suffering and your struggles. And there is a silver lining to this record for sure. There's positivity, but I also love the fact that we didn't really work to make it completely positive. Like the last record, I feel had a lot of positivity and hope interjected into it. Where this one, I mean, even the way we end the album with that song "Forever," "Forever" is a very dark song, and it's actually about abuse. It's from the point of view of the abuser, and basically obsession. People thinking love is one thing, but realizing that it can be a toxic obsession and a way to control somebody, which is something a lot of people can relate to. So we were okay with the fact, like, all right, let's leave this record on a dark note, and I kind of love that we did. Because with Killswitch, we're always like injecting like all overcome positivity, like all that, which is great. But this allowed us to leave that last sentence, that last word, that chant, the strange feeling that the album leaves off on. It's kind of uncomfortable, and I like that. And it also just gives us room to grow. Like we don't have to be motivational. We don't always have to be this one thing. Like we let our darkness kind of take over on this one, and I'd say it's definitely a darker record than the first one, and I'm proud of that because it's honest.
I love it. And I would expect nothing less from you guys, especially you personally. But yeah, man. And I like that you talked about not want to be pigeonholed, whether it's Times of Grace or you artistically, because you are a very multifaceted person and you could do, I'd love to see you write some books. I'd love to see you do some other things, other mediums if you ever were down. But yeah, man, there's a lot of powerfulness in the lyrics and always, but on this one too, like I said, I think your words really punctuate and connect like maybe not on anything else you've done. This record will, I think that's the thing people will come away with. You're great at delivering a line vocally, but it's like what's behind the words, you know?
Yeah, it really documents a very tumultuous time in my life, going through a crazy, weird divorce and having my entire personal life turned on its head and kind of having to rediscover who I am without all that baggage, without all that toxic energy that was surrounding me for so long. And coming to that realization of having to move forward and sever ties. And I didn't hold back. You know, it's poetic, but it's derivative as well. If you look at the lyrics of Medusa, that's a specific topic that I was dealing with. And I decided to use that metaphor. But even during the spoken word part of that song, you can hear it. I'm talking about dealing with deception, talking about dealing with a dark demonic energy. And yeah, I didn't hold back. And it's funny, even one of the songs I wrote, I don't remember writing the lyrics. I was numbing myself to inebriation, but still trying to stay creative. And I actually sent Adam an email with all these lyrics, and I don't recall doing that at all. And he ended up taking it and writing a song and singing the song and bringing it back to me like, here's this song. And I had no recollection of writing it, and I love it. I think it's a great song. I'm like, wow, dude, that's a great song. Cool. I'm glad you sang it. And that's another thing too. Adam really stepped up and took lead vocals on a couple of these tracks, and he sounds better than he's ever sounded. He doesn't sound as sort of timid as he does in a lot of the Killswitch stuff. He's got more balls on this, and he's really coming into his own as a lyricist as well. You know, because I would help him be more poetic and be less obvious with his lyrics. And there's a couple songs on here where I didn't change anything. I was like, dude, why change this? It's great. I love what you're doing with the lyrics. So it's very much a collaboration because he does that with me as well. He's an incredible producer, and you know, I couldn't imagine doing this with anybody else, being this vulnerable and allowing myself to open up like this. So yeah, it's a true collaboration. But Adam's the captain of this ship for sure, 100%.
Word, and he would love to know we are talking about his balls on this interview.
Yes, he would.
But yeah, man, yeah, he really is fantastic, and it's great to hear how much more in Times of Grace the two of you get to harmonize and do it so well. There's you know, many great bands in rock history where people harmonize, Crosby, Stills and Nash, and Tom Petty and his backing band, and you and Adam, I think, come right in, you know, Eagles and you guys. I think like in a modern sense, this album is like what feels like some of that like magical stuff when you hear two voices in sync, you know, not do the exact same part and actually have like a separation and a complement to each other, like a counterpoint. It's really awesome for the listener. You get the I'm getting getting the goosebumps just talking about it, actually.
Thank you. That's very kind. You know, he's just got this boomy bottom end that I don't have. I have, you know, even when I go low, it's not as round as his. Like he's got a depth to it, and I've got that sort of like mid to high thing I can do. So when to put those two together, it sounds like a complete voice. It really is an interesting thing of how it just complements each other. But our running joke is like, I think from the early days when we were doing photo shoots and stuff, we like to joke about ourselves because yeah, we look kind of silly in the first record photo shoot, and was like, we're like the Tears for Fears metal band, like heavy metal Tears for Fears. You know, it's we look like we're just looking different directions. We look contemplative. It's pretty cheesy. But for the record, I love Tears for Fears. But yeah, we've gotten that analogy before, and we embraced it. We're like, yeah, we're like the metal Tears for Fears.
Amazing. And yeah, it was like a black and white photo with the different, it's such an 80s
Yeah,
composition of the
guys looking
photo.
the other way, thinking
Yeah.
about stuff.
Yeah, I broke my tape of songs from the Big Chair in high school. That's how much I played that. I
Oh,
played that record. I played like 3 records on a loop in high school. Songs from the Big Chair, and Justice for All, and Pink Floyd The Wall. And I never took those out of
classic.
my bag in high school. And I broke that tape. So yeah, and in a way, you know, those guys are great songwriters and brilliant singers who sing together. Again, another one of those guys complement each other so well.
Yeah, I
Like
don't think Tears for Fears gets the credit they deserve. They had like progressive rock stuff going on in there, like really brilliant songwriting. Everyone just knows them for the hits, but some of their deep cuts are really nicely like written, smart music. It's great. Yeah, it's so fun.
where they also had like an
Years.
awesome, yeah, they had an awesome like Sergeant Pepper phase, where they were doing like a Beatles thing and tiny
Yeah,
horn rimmed glasses and Yellow Submarine videos and stuff. It was wild.
I love it. I love it.
Right on. When you're not, and obviously you're spending a lot of time out in nature and stuff. When you're not making music, like what music would you listen to if you're not listening to? Clearly, probably your musical taste is not the same as it was like years ago.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of stuff, man. As far as metal, Catatonia has been a new obsession of mine. During this last winter, a fan, because I love Opeth. I love a lot of the old melodic metal, like Edge of Sanity, My Dying Bride, Anathema, like that shit from like the late '90s. I love all that stuff. So someone was like, if you like that, you got to check out Catatonia. And I've always heard the name, but totally got into them. But yeah, I love old school '70s reggae. I love dub reggae. I love like some indie rock stuff, man. Like off the top of my head, I mean, the Nationals, a band I love to listen to. This guy named Brother Tiger, who's just a singer songwriter. Yeah, it's I really diverse, man. And then I also love ambient music. I listen to a lot of old Brian Eno. The Orb, this duo from England, kind of a mixture of ambient house and just soundscapes. Steve Roach. I like a lot of abstract shit, man. It just depends what mood I'm in. And then I'm super into like, stoner rock, Caius, Queens of the Stone Age, rock and roll shit, man. Year of the Rabbit, you know. I'm all over the place, man.
Nice. I'm so glad you mentioned the stoner stuff because I always wanted to ask you if there was ever a chance that we could get Seamless back because that's a band that I loved a lot and I felt like didn't quite had enough running time to get kind of out there. And I don't know if that's like done forever or something you would ever resurrect.
I'm pretty sure it's done forever. I mean, I love that band. It was a really necessary stepping stone in my life, but I'm not interested in rehashing. I'd rather just push forward, you know. Maybe someday I'll do a rock project. I don't know, but yeah, I'm not really interested in going back and resurrecting old stuff. People ask about the Empire Shall Fall as well. It's like kind of just ran its course. I don't know. Like the juices just stopped flowing and we just kind of all went our separate ways. So I'm all about leaving the past where it is. I mean, obviously minus Killswitch because I gotta sing all the old shit from Alive Just Breathing constantly. But yeah, man, I'd rather just push forward creatively. I get bored, man. I get bored. I like need to keep myself pushing forward. I've actually taught myself piano. I'm teaching myself piano. I've been writing a lot of stuff on piano as well and electronic music. Yeah. And I have a punk band, The Weapon, which
I love the Weapon. I
we
was
got
about
new
to.
stuff coming up soon, hopefully.
Yes.
And it's a little
Awesome.
more like a little more melodic, like Dag Nasty kind of hardcore punk kind of stuff. And then there's like 4 or 5 songs that are just straight '80s hardcore, like fast, pissed off shit. Yeah, I got to keep moving and keep busy and pushing forward.
Rad, man. I love it. I'm so thrilled you talked about the Weapon because I love that record too. And I was like, oh man, this is awesome. Kind of reminded me of the pre-Killswitch Jesse days.
Yeah, it's where it come from for sure. Hardcore and punk were definitely in my blood, and I love all that shit from Black Flag to Minor Threat to GBH. You name it. That's the shit that raised me. I mean, early agnostic front that changed my whole world, man. So yeah, it's kind of a nod to all that stuff.
It's funny. I was having a conversation recently with Michael Alago, who I adore, and he's a big friend to Ghost Cult. And we were talking about sort of the differences. Obviously, an expert on the subject, the differences between punk and metal. And I said that I think there's an intimacy, not just at the shows, but there's an intimacy in the music of punk that's different than the bro culture of metalheads. Not to disparage my own people who I adore also, but like, yeah, we were talking about that punk is a much more immediate and close relationship to things. And I wanted to get you a guy who's walked in both worlds. So I wanted to ask you about that too.
Yeah, I think it depends. I feel like there are subgenres in metal that tend to be, I feel like the smaller genres that are more exclusive tend to be a little more close knit. But yeah, on the whole, punk and hardcore is a culture. It's not just a music. It's, I mean, same thing with metal. It's a way of life. It's a way of thinking, and that do-it-yourself spirit, and sort of just finding the freaks and geeks and the weirdos, and you kind of like gravitate to them. That's how I got into it. I didn't fit in anywhere else, and to me, I'll always be a punk. Always. That's never gonna leave me. As much as I love metal and I love hardcore and I love all different kinds of music, punk was the first thing to really sort of like open my eyes to a whole other world, a whole other culture, and I found my tribe. So yeah, I mean, just for me personally, it's a lifestyle. It's just something that's never going to go away. And I've seen that in metal as well. But again, I think, metal is such a broad term. It's really hard to, I mean, we all know there's so many subgenres. But I think, like when grindcore first started coming on the scene, it was a small scene. It was very close knit. And back when that shit came out, it was very political. It was very anti-system. It was very like, I think of this video that came out from Earache Records. It's like Hard and Heavy, the grindcore years. If you've never seen it, if you're listening, you got to check it out. I think it's on YouTube. And they go through like Morbid Angel and Entombed and, and then like Napalm Death. And then they go into like bands that I can't remember their names. I'm Bolt Thrower. And some of the grindcore stuff, that early grind is like just gnarly. It's heavy and it's just pissed off. And they really had a sort of an idea of the way they saw the world. And then grindcore became a much bigger genre and it kind of changed and got goofy and, into horror. But like the origins of that kind of came from hardcore and punk. So I think there's a crossbreed, even thrash music, when that shit first came out. If it wasn't for hardcore punk, there would be no thrash. So it's like metal, hardcore punk, there's kind of all tied together somehow. I mean, look at early Metallica pictures with the Misfits shirts on. So yeah, I guess subgenres to me have more of that unity feeling than say going to like a huge metal concert. I don't know. That's just my opinion, I guess.
I'm glad you shared it. So obviously, you got a big summer plan with Killswitch. Hopefully, we're going to get some Times of Grace touring in at some point. I hope that's the
Oh, I don't know,
case.
dude. We'll see. We'll see what for us, it's like it's kind of a bummer because we put out Atonement, our album we're all really proud of, and it just kind of went away because of the pandemic. So we got a lot of work to do to sort of bring it back out to the people and tour on that. So it's going to keep us pretty busy. So as far as Times of Grace, I'm not sure when that's going to fit in. I mean, it's something that I know Adam and I have talked about with Dan, our drummer, and who we would hire and how we would do it. But at this point, it's hard to say when. And, maybe next year. I don't know.
Right on. And I feel like Killswitch is one of those bands that is so in demand after Atonement also, and the real wave of enthusiasm and acclaim around Atonement, that not only do people want you to rebook the dates you had to postpone, you got added already to these new things, Furnace Fest and Slipknot and not. So yeah, I think there's a lot of excitement, and I'm personally thrilled to see this wave of tours and shows getting booked and all these festivals springing up out of nowhere, seemingly out of nowhere, probably not out of nowhere, but
I know. Yeah, no. I mean, like Hellfest, I saw the lineup for that. I was like, whoa.
yeah, yeah,
That's probably the best lineup I've ever seen in my entire life. And, I'm like, yo, I want to go. It's ridiculous.
right.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool to see all these tours starting. It's going to be a busy touring season. The end of this year into next year is going to be nuts. It's going to be hard to compete, but I'm sure people are just going to go to all of them. I know I will. If I'm home, I'm going to shows, dude. I love going to shows. I do not. Yeah, I can't wait to support.
Yeah, I miss them and I miss the closeness. And I remember my very last show before all this was at St. Vitus Bar, and it was sold out 2 days in a row, like Soulfly and Toxic Holocaust, and it was
Oh, that's awesome. Of
wall to wall people. And I definitely got sweated on by strangers. And I came home
course.
exhausted and sweaty. And I never thought that this would be like 400, 500 days in my life without going out every night of the week.
Yeah,
But I'm, there's also a positive flip side to that too, is you got to get back to yourself and take care of yourself, and we have to be more vigilant about taking care of each other. I'm very serious about that.
I completely agree. I think that that's the big takeaway from all of this, and not taking things for granted. Truly, I found my grounding. I found stillness. I found peace amidst the chaos, and it's something that I've got to hold on to as we push forward and I get back out there and get busy again. You got to have those moments of like gratitude and staying still and like being present to a moment. I think is super important. And with the life that I was living, I was nonstop. I was burnt out. I was exhausted. I was taking things for granted. My life was just crazy. And when the brakes got pumped and the tour bus stopped and we got sent home, what I went through on the other side of it all, I think it was necessary for me to like really just pump the brakes and open my eyes to how amazing life actually is, regardless of the craziness that was going on just in my own life, counting my own blessings. So yeah, that's something I got to take with me as we push forward into touring again.
Killer, man. Beautiful way to end things. Jesse, man, I'm so grateful I got to share this time with you and talk about your new album. Thank you so much for hanging out with Ghost Cult. Please take care of yourself, stay up, and we'll see you in person hopefully next time for one of these.
Awesome. Thank you for taking the time and promoting the record. I truly appreciate it, my man.